I won $30 million in the lottery, quit my job, bought a mansion, threw lavish parties, got into gambling and drugs, and eventually lost everything. Now, I'm back to square one, filled with regret and trying to rebuild my life. This is the story of how winning big ruined my life. It all started on a seemingly ordinary Wednesday. I was a 35-year-old guy, working a dead-end job at a local hardware store, living in a small apartment, and struggling to make ends meet. I wasn't particularly lucky in life, so when I bought a lottery ticket on a whim, I didn't think much of it. That night, as I sat on my worn-out couch with a cheap beer in hand, I watched the lottery draw on TV. My heart nearly stopped when I saw my numbers, every single one matched. I had just won $30 million. It felt like a dream, like all my problems were finally over. The first few days were a blur of excitement and disbelief. I quit my job immediately, called my family and friends, and reveled in the newfound attention. Suddenly, everyone wanted to be my friend. I was on top of the world. I decided to take the lump sum payout, which amounted to around $18 million after taxes. With that much money, I thought I was set for life. But that's where things started to go wrong. My first mistake was moving into a massive, luxurious mansion in an upscale neighborhood. It was far too big for just me, but I wanted to make a statement. I filled it with expensive furniture, state-of-the-art electronics, and even bought a few sports cars for good measure. I was living a life of excess, and it felt incredible. Next, I started throwing lavish parties, inviting everyone I knew and even people I didn't. The parties became legendary, with alcohol flowing freely, top-shelf catering, and hired entertainment. My house was the place to be, and I was the king of my new social circle. I also went on extravagant vacations to exotic destinations, staying in the best hotels and eating at the finest restaurants. I didn't care about the cost because, in my mind, I had more money than I could ever spend. But as the months went by, I began to notice a change. The people around me weren't real friends, they were hangers-on, there for the free booze and the wild parties. My family, who had always been supportive, started to distance themselves as they saw me spiraling out of control. I also developed some expensive habits. I got into gambling, thinking my luck was invincible. I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in casinos, chasing the thrill of winning. I also started experimenting with drugs, which quickly turned into an addiction. My once fun and carefree lifestyle became a dangerous and destructive cycle. One night, after a particularly wild party, I got into a car accident. I was driving one of my sports cars, drunk and high, and crashed into a tree. Miraculously, I survived with minor injuries, but the car was totaled. The incident was a wake-up call, but I ignored it. My financial situation was getting worse. I was spending money faster than I realized. Bills started piling up, and I found myself selling off assets to cover my expenses. The mansion that once symbolized my success became a burden I could no longer afford. The final blow came when I got involved in a shady investment deal. A friend convinced me to invest a significant portion of my remaining money into a business venture that promised high returns. It turned out to be a scam, and I lost nearly everything. In the span of just a few years, I went from being a multimillionaire to being nearly broke. My health deteriorated due to my drug and alcohol abuse, and I alienated most of the people who genuinely cared about me. Today, I'm back to living in a small apartment, working a low-paying job, and struggling to make ends meet. I've managed to get clean and sober, but the damage is done. I'm filled with regret and guilt over how I squandered the opportunity of a lifetime. So, Reddit, if you ever dream of winning the lottery, be careful what you wish for. Money can change everything, and not always for the better. It's easy to lose sight of what really matters and get caught up in the trappings of wealth. If I could go back and do it all over again, I'd choose a different path.